Test. And excellent. Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. It's like a traveling circus. I hope everybody is doing okay today. I am coming to you from Lisbon. I've had somewhat of a weird way to get to this particular place, but we're here nonetheless. We missed our flight. Not just missed the flight, completely missed the flight. The thing said like 4, and we took it to be 4 p.m. and it's in military time, so that 4 p.m. was actually 4 a.m. and we're about to go to the airport, and we're like, wait a minute, why can't I check in for this flight? Why can't I get to this flight? So we ended up spending the night in Amsterdam because that was the closest place that we could get to for the cheapest price. Not to mention, it's Amsterdam, and my thought was, if I'm going to take this brutal hit, I am at least going to smoke myself into a coma for it. So we're finally here. I have a slate of stories. Let's get back to doing the news. I've had a slate of stories that I want to go through today. The first one that I'm going to start off with, though, is this one. I saw this a couple of days ago. It's interesting. And there's a little bit more to it now. And I definitely want to talk about it. So I always try to get the summary first and then go through the story afterwards. Julian Assange has been given partial internet access. It's been turned back on. He has the ability to use his phone. He has the ability to use Wi-Fi. However, anyone who's coming into the embassy needs to be pre-approved. His stuff, they reserve the right to take his property, whatever they need to take his property. They reserve the right for the British authorities to take his property if the Brits need to take his property. And there's something else. One of the most interesting and odd but damning things from the Trump pee tape, this thing that Trump got a hooker to pee on the bed, the entire point of that wasn't necessarily because it was reality. The entire point was something to hit Donald Trump with, meaning we want to embarrass him. It's not enough to politically beat him. We want to embarrass him. We want to humiliate him. We want to make him look bad. We want to make him look ridiculous. He's getting hookers to pee on the bed because he hates Obama that much. My wife's here. So any person that hates Trump, doesn't matter the reality. They could say, oh, that guy had his hookers pee on the bed. The reality doesn't matter. Whether or not it's true doesn't matter. They just use it as something to hit him with. There's something similar here being used against Julian Assange in the story that's being put out here. Take a look at this article. Let's see. Why are you? This is not. 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I have like a lot of windows. There we are. All right. So this. Julian Assange banned from political activity by Ecuador embassy and ordered to take care of his cat. What? What? He's ordered to take care of his cat. Now, the overwhelming majority of people who read the news just look at the headlines. This guy this activist, who's been in prison in the embassy because he didn't necessarily want to be extradited to the vicious United States and the penal system here. He's a political prisoner. And the Ecuadorian embassy is now saying he needs to take care of his cat, as if his cat is not being taken care of. Oh, and by the way, they also added he also needs to clean his bathroom. He needs to clean his bathroom. Why are you telling me about his cat in his bathroom as if the guy is... I guess my point in this is they're putting knives in him. And sometimes the knife that they put in you is just stuff that they can use to kind of make you look bad and for humiliating effect. Telling a grown man that he needs to clean his bathroom is one of those things. Also telling him he needs to take care of his cat as if his cat is somehow being, injured in this process. Hey, you want him to take care of his cat? Let him go. Let him go without putting him in prison. Let him get medical attention that he needs. Those are the things that you can do. Now, understand how we got here. The previous president, Correa, had a very strong sense of national sovereignty. Ecuador is a nation among other nations, and just like Switzerland could extend diplomatic immunity, Julian Assange has been a vital proponent of transparency across the world. He deserves our protection, and we will give him that protection because we, Ecuador, are a sovereign nation like any other nation. Now, Correa's replacement doesn't necessarily have that strong sense of sovereignty. Correa's replacement, Rafael Correa, doesn't have that strong sense of sovereignty. He's been on record saying, to paraphrase, he thought he was somebody else. Not so much. Lyndon Moreno was part of the administration that cut off Julian Assange's access to the internet going back in March. He has been essentially locked into a box without the ability to access or to interact with the rest of the world. They're turning it back on marginally. Now, the argument was that the reason why they did this is because Julian Assange was making things difficult for Europe, or making things difficult from the standpoint of Ecuador and its interactions with Europe. That's probably true to some degree. I think the more honest thing has to do with the United States. It is believed that there is a warrant lurking behind the arrest warrant in Britain to extradite Julian Assange to the United States. There's been multiple things said by various parties in the United States that kind of got this across, Schiff being one of them, saying that we'll have a conversation with Julian Assange once he gets into the country, once he's brought here, meaning once he's extradited to the United States. The biggest thing was, look, Assange has continually said, as long as I'm not going to be extradited, we can talk. In fact, not just talk, you can come and talk to me here. And up to this point, not so much. The long and short of the story is that they've turned on, supposedly, his access. But they turned on his access in a way of saying, you can use the internet, but no political speech, which is subjective. Essentially, you can talk, just don't say anything. Let's see. Let's flip over to this and let's go through the story itself. Julian Assange banned from political activity by Ecuador embassy in order to take care of his cat. Oh, and he's ordered to clean his bathroom. Clean your bathroom. It's a grown man. Ecuador has set new rules for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange that include banning him from making political statements and ordering him to take better care of his cat. If you don't realize that they're saying this stuff purely for political effect to make him look bad, this is attacking the individual and tarnishing his character because they don't like the fact that Clinton lost. All of this is because they're blaming everybody else for that woman losing. It goes beyond that. I mean, he's embarrassing the military-industrial complex, all that stuff. He's pushing an idea of transparency to a culture of lies. And you can imagine that culture of lies hates the fact that he's pushing this idea of transparency. This is what your world actually is, not what you're being told. And they're trying to attack the person who's pushing that out. And by the way, Rafael Correa found himself catching a case also, meaning the guy who essentially gave Julian Assange citizenship in order to protect him from the hounds of the United States and the UK also was under attack by those hounds. I would argue by those hounds. But but at the very least, Ecuador has put out an arrest warrant for him too. It's a separate case that's not related to Julian Assange, even though I would argue it's probably related in some degree to Julian Assange. Ecuador has set new house rules for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange that includes banning him from making political statements and ordering him to take better care of his cat. An internal memo states that Mr. Assange, who has been living in Ecuador, UK since 2012, must clean the bathroom. To keep access to the internet, he has been told to refrain from activities that could prejudice Ecuador's good relations with other states, the 9-page document said. The embassy cut off the transparency activist's internet in March, saying he was potentially harming its diplomatic ties with Britain and other EU member states after Assange challenged Britain's claim that Russia had carried out a nerve attack in Salisbury. He challenged that claim because he should challenge that claim. A spy goes down in Britain, falls out, an old spy, a guy who had been locked up by Russia and eventually left after his thing. He was a double spy. He was a double agent. We're to believe that even though Russia could have gotten their hands on him at any particular point while he was in Russia, that for whatever reason, in this kind of random fashion, that they wanted to take him out, and they did so using Novichok, a military-grade nerve agent. A military-grade nerve agent that could only kill a cat or a hamster, one of them, but it didn't necessarily kill the person who they said was supposed to be killed. Now, another person died later on. Let's get to that afterwards. My point here is, once the spy goes down in Britain, the question has to come up, what reason would Russia have to do this? Now, Britain comes out immediately and says, Russia did it. What evidence do you have that shows Russia did it? Well, we have intelligence. Boris Johnson comes out and says, Portendown told me that. Portendown comes out and says, we didn't tell him anything of the such. Julian Assange, rational human being, saying they decided that the person was guilty without showing the evidence that the person was guilty. And seeing as this was the country that was involved in the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, or at the very least went along with the idea of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, yeah, there should be a certain amount of skepticism and waiting for actual evidence to present itself before making this grand proclamation that Russia somehow attacked a spy in Britain. Julian Assange wasn't wrong for saying that. Now, their point is, well, he's hurting our diplomatic ties. Maybe, but he's not wrong for saying it. Let's keep going. I can imagine it would hurt your diplomatic ties if you're trying to lie or you're trying to put out a story and somebody else is countermanding that story, saying, wait a minute, remember who these people are, and this sounds fishy. It also severed his telephone communications and restricted his visitors to members of his legal team. Under the new rules, diplomatic staff must formally approve all of Mr. Assange's visitors 3 days in advance. The embassy partially restored the WikiLeaks founder's internet access over the weekend, but he would only be able to use Wi-Fi for his personal computer and his telephone. He and his guests are also banned from using unauthorized equipment in the building. The memo, written in Spanish and published in the Ecuadorian Código Vidrio website, said. Right here. The embassy retains the right to authorize security personnel to seize equipment or ask British authorities to do the same. Ecuador said Mr. Assange was responsible for the well-being, food, hygiene, and proper care of his pet, and that they would remove the animal if the activists did not look after it. The memo also urged the 47-year-old to keep his bathroom clean. Ecuador would not help fund the controversial figure stay in the embassy from December 2018, the member stated. Essentially, going forward, you have to pay for yourself, leaving him to pay food, laundry, and private medical checkups. This is an Ecuadorian government that has shed all idea of national sovereignty. And in shedding this idea of national sovereignty, has essentially allowed itself to be put under the thumb of Western powers. In this particular case, they hate Julian Assange. Moreno has said himself that Assange is a stone in his shoe, and it has been in conversations or talks with the British authorities with the idea of evicting Assange from this. He was granted political asylum, period. Beyond political asylum, he was granted citizenship, period. You have certain responsibilities under this idea of citizenship and under this idea of political asylum. That said, within the realm of that, they're doing everything that they can to make his stay difficult and somewhat impossible because, let's be honest, they want him to leave. So that's the update on what's taking place. Stephanie, what's happening, Stephanie? Jamarl figured it out. Only other person that figured it out was Randy. Everyone else is paying attention to the gossip rags, but the document itself is suspect. Moreno is replacement, if you forgot. He remembered. What do you mean, Stephanie? You lost me on that one. Moreno is replacement, if you forgot. Yeah, Moreno is the new president. Correa was the old one. I'm saying Correa. Okay, I might have missed the thread. Did I say something wrong? I said something off? What did I miss? What did I miss? I missed something? All right, I don't want this one to go too long, and I have a slate of stories that I need to get to. If I got something wrong, Steph, but put in a thing. It's possible that I might have, said one person's name as opposed to the other person's name. They just blame the Guardian. Other stories covering didn't point out the document itself was designed to make. Yeah, it's just, I mean, come on. Come on. You're bringing up his cat. You're bringing up his cat. You're acting like the guy's killing his cat. I mean, all of this is to tarnish the individual in this case. They hate his guts, and they put out a document that makes him look bad. You even go into point, you need to clean your bathroom. You need to clean your bathroom. Have a glass of port for me. Oh. Will do, Gordon. Will do. Yeah, man. They're trying to make him look bad. It's look, this is politics. And this is politics on this kind of scale of information warfare. The United States, in one of the stories that I have, has been, we knew this, but there's a story going back to 2011 saying that the United States is a bunch of sock puppet accounts that they've militarized to essentially attack or spread disinformation. That's a different story, man. I have to put that story in a different story. I'm going to end this here because I don't want this one to go too long. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. Remember, information that's being released in the media in many respects is a weapon. It's a weapon that's easy for people to take in based on their own personal biases about the stories that they want. Information like this that's being leaked often is used as, it's like, if you hate Trump, then you don't really care what's true. You can just hit him with the PP tapes. Same thing with this. If you're one of these insane Hillary Clinton creatures who's like, oh my God, Julian Assange was responsible for her losing the election, as opposed to taking responsibility of a woman not even being able to beat a reality show host, then when somebody says, hey, the guy doesn't even take care of his cat, and he has a dirty bathroom, it's information warfare. It's designed to make him look bad. That's all this is. They want him out of that embassy, and they're doing everything to get him out of that embassy because the new government that's in Ecuador is hostile to him being there. That's the reality of this. So, all right, I'm going to end this because I want to talk about Tim Canova and the race that Tim Canova is in next. So, I'll see you guys in like 3 minutes or however long it takes the Google to flip over. Thanks all. I know you guys are just waking up. It's like 11 o'clock here. It's almost noon. All right. See you guys in a few. Thanks all.